want to move on. I want to get your calls on this. Should pensioners always see the same GP each time they visit their local surgery? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Get your calls in now. A study by the Health Foundation found that the UK is lagging behind when it comes to older people seeing a regular GP. Have a look at this graph. Back in 2014, at the beginning there, 92% of older people said they saw the same one doctor for all of their medical care. Skip forward, there we go, 10 years. That figure's dropped to just 72%. You'll also see that we are way behind other developed wealthy countries, including France at the top, Canada's up there, Switzerland, the US, New Zealand, Canada, as I say, when it comes to the number of older people seeing the same GP. The Health Foundation says that if there is a GP you see regularly and you know well, they may be better able to spot when you need help or to be referred to a specialist. But is that realistic these days? The government says it's already recruited more than 2,000 extra GPs, wants to bring back the family doctor. But do we have bigger problems right now than ensuring pensioners see the same doctor every time? I mean, we talk about continuity of care, yep. Henry. The thing that seems to me from that graph and the little bit I know about medicine in other countries is if you pay for it, that's what you get. If you pay for your medical care, then you get the right to choose. The NHS is free.
Yeah, there's a few things going on there. I mean, we have a chronic shortage of GPs in this country. I think we've got something like 39,000 GPs at the moment. That's the same as in 2015. The population's gone up, what, 2 or 3 million since then. By the time someone gets to 70, 75 years old, they've got like 2 or 3 comorbidities. It could be cardiovascular disease, cancer or something else. So the notion that they should get continuity of care is fantastic in principle, but in practice, because we've got so few GPs and the population is getting older and sicker, it's not realistic. We should aim for it. We need to increase the number of GPs, train more, make the conditions better, the work-life balance better, so that they would stay in the profession for 40 years, as GPs used to, as opposed to 10 years and then leave and go to Australia.
OK. I mean, Joanna, we look at older people and that continuity where you go from one week to the next, maybe with a complex condition. Does that need the same person to have their eyes on it? Or can professionals hand over very well, do you think?
I think yes and no. And I think what we see, I mean, my own experience with my mother is she had the same GP who saw her religiously, mainly because Mum had dementia and Alzheimer's and she was an absolute pain in the bottom. But, you know, that made an enormous difference for her. But for that to happen, we had to be super flexible about when she went. Yeah. And it meant that if there was a real need for her to go to have an unrelated illness treated, then we just had to take what we got. And I think that's the reality. But your point about, you know, you pay for what you get. You can go to the GP in France, but it costs you 30 euros. You can claim up to 70% of it back, all through your private healthcare. In Germany, it could cost you up to 120 euros to do a GP visit. It filters out those people that don't need to really go.
OK, I'd love to hear it.
But it might also filter out those people who do need to go, but they can't afford it.
I need to hear people's experiences about this and exactly what they're getting and the difference it makes seeing the same face every time you go in. We're taking your calls on this after the break. The number of pensioners seeing the same GP each time they go to the doctor's surgery has dropped from 92 to 72% over a decade. I'd love to hear your thoughts. 0207 862 2222 is the number. And Anne is in North Lanarkshire. Anne, do you get to see the same face when you go through the door at your GP's?
No, it's very difficult to see my GP. We have got to phone between 8 and 9. And when I first took that well, I phoned 28 times and still never get through. And then, excuse me, when I finally get through, I seen a nurse and they gave me an antibiotic and it didn't work. And I seen 2 more nurses after that gave me antibiotics and it didn't work. So then I had to say, I want to see a doctor. And the doctor had to leave what was wrong with me and the doctor had to phone me back to see if he would need to see me. And I did then see the doctor and he sent me for an X-ray. He gave me the card that day and I could go to the hospital straight away. But when I got to the hospital, I got the X-ray, no bother. But there's a sign up saying it takes 6 weeks for the X-ray to get back through to your doctor.
So for you, Anne, it's not just a matter of not seeing the same doctor, it's getting to see any healthcare professional, which is the real challenge right now.
That's the real challenge with us, trying to see a doctor.
God bless you.
Is it? Do you think it's a luxury that
Oh,
if we insist on older people seeing the same face, actually we're so far away from that at the moment that it would be counterproductive? It's just a target we couldn't reach.
Well, I think most old people would probably, they're set in their ways and they want to see a doctor. But I think when it got to the stage I was at, I just wanted to see a doctor. I didn't care who it was, as long as it was a doctor.
And you've probably been through a period of your life when you did have one name, one face that you'd go back to.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
What difference does that make to, I don't know, your sense of well-being or even how well you're looked after?
Well, I think when I was younger and you could go to the doctors, when I was younger, there was 4 regular doctors in the practice. And if you went, usually you went to the same one and they knew who you were and they knew about your history and things like that. I know they've got it on file, but to see you in person and know who you are and what you're like, you know, I think that makes a big difference because you get better contact with them.
I'll be honest, Anne, listening to you talk us through your story earlier on, you sounded quite desperate with the situation. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Do you know how long it takes when you phone a surgery and it takes 28 phone calls and you still don't see a doctor? You don't get through.
I'm so sorry it's working out that way, Anne, and I do hope you get the care that you need. Thank you so much for your call. We're going to move on. Michelle's in Devon. Right. Michelle, should all older people have the chance to see the same doctor every time?
Absolutely. And if you can just let me have like 2 minutes, say, I'll let you know what I think. Anne is completely right. But what a lot of people are realising is, since COVID, it's all been what it looks like orchestrated so that they do this and they lead people into desperation and going to a private organisation, a private hospital, to get their treatment done. And what they do is they go and see that same consultant at a hospital, that very same one you would have seen under the NHS, pay a few £100 to them for their second salary they earn, and then they see you and put you in the queue that the NHS people are waiting for.
Michelle,
the NHS people in the back.
You may suspect that that's the case, right? Or it may be the effect that it's having, that more people are turning to private healthcare than staying with the NHS. But saying that that's the intention, that that's what they're trying to achieve, that feels like a bit of a leap, isn't it?
No, it's absolutely true. Without you butting in my conversation now, please let me finish this.
Well, I tell you what, Michelle, it's my job to challenge when people say things and they haven't got the evidence. I'm allowed to push back and ask how you know that.
You're not letting people get their say, though, are you? You need to let me, please, just finish with the last things I want to say. These people in the NHS, like myself, that need serious things done, are never going to be seen because they're driving people that are going private. They've got a bit of money. They're prepared to pay it out to these doctors. Those doctors then say, you're going to the front of my queue. You're going to get treatment. We'll put the other ones on the NHS waiting in the back. And this is Trump's administration, and it needs to be wiped out. It's evil. It's a narcissist. It's an absolute dictatorship of Nazism, and I want to see the end of it.
OK, Michelle, you've absolutely had your say. Fred's in Bedfordshire. Fred, do you think that every old person should get to see the same face? Should we prioritise that, even if it means healthcare for the rest of us suffers?
Well, good morning, and thanks for taking the call. Well, I think it's a debatable subject, but in my case, my late wife attending her regular GP, and going back 24 years ago, and she'd been suffering with the obvious symptoms of ovarian cancer, and for months he misdiagnosed her, and then eventually she had to be taken to hospital, and within a very short time the A&E doctor diagnosed. He was asking questions to anybody in the family got cancer, and she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and she lasted about 1 year and 10 months.
I'm so sorry.
I think in some cases it's better that somebody has a different doctor.
That's a
very
really
good
interesting,
Really interesting point,
Really good
actually.
point.
Yeah.
That actually, having the same doctor, you might have the same prejudices from that doctor. Their idea needs some challenge from elsewhere. Fred, you've brought a great point to the table. Joanna, can you see that actually spreading that load, maybe amongst a practice where the doctors know each other very well and can talk about these things together? In Fred's case, that could have prevented the heartache that he went through.
I think that's a really good point, and Fred, our hearts go out to you for this. But I think it is really important. It's also important to get a second opinion. And I know that may seem a long shot, but I've experienced that myself and completely misdiagnosed, and I just didn't believe what the doctor said, went and saw someone else. And again, I had a tumour and it was operated on immediately. But we shouldn't, we seem to think that because people wear a white coat, they know everything. GPs are generalists, they're general practitioners, they're not experts. And it's up to them to keep themselves up to speed about new innovation and new diagnosis techniques as much as they can. But the pressure on them in their 3-4 minute window to see someone and diagnose is too great.
I wonder how many people have been in Fred's situation where maybe that relationship was too cosy, if anything.
Yeah,
and
although
there was no challenge.
So, although the figures overall show that in those countries where there is a greater continuity of care, people have better outcomes. So although it was very tragic in Fred's case, across the piece, across millions of people, if you have the continuity of care, apparently you've got a better outcome.
OK, thanks for your call, Fred. You raised a brilliant point. Great call. Louise is in Manchester. Do you think old people, Louise, should see the same GP every time?
I do, yeah, because, all the time they get to know your family history, and they would be able to spot anything like that lady was talking about previously, that Fred, sorry, and his wife would have been diagnosed sooner if probably she had seen a different doctor.
How much of this is about older people being comfortable, not feeling lonely, isolated, not being confused by seeing a different face every time? How much of that is about putting them in their comfort zone?
It's a lot. I mean, I'm 50 now, and when I go to the GPs, I see a different one every time. And you start to tell them everything from the beginning because they are different doctors, even though they've got it all there.
It's a waste of their time, isn't it? Especially when appointments have to be kept so short. Listen, thanks for your call, Louise. Thanks for all your calls on that.